Hi, my name is Thiago Passos, and today we're going to keep talking about Swagger or OpenAPI. Okay, so in my previous video, what I showed you was how to introduce NSwag to your .NET Core API so you can generate your OpenAPI specification, right? And from there, we can generate a TypeScript client to use in your Angular application. That's all to make your life a bit easier. Okay, so today we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna use this specification, but instead of generating a TypeScript client, we're gonna generate a C# client. And why would I need that for, since the API is in C#? And the answer for that is microservices. Okay, so once you have multiple services, all written in C# or the languages, the best way to talk between each other would be via HTTP request. The best or the easiest, I would say, right? And to do that, how would you do? So you would create a HTTP client and then talk via the endpoints. And how would the contracts be? Okay, would you replicate all the contracts in the new service? How would you do it? So that's when the C# client comes into place. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to generate the whole HTTP clients with all the contracts. Okay, so by doing that, you can use in another C# application or .NET application, and you don't need to think about the contract because it's going to bring all the types for you. Okay, so that's the easiest way you can talk to another API. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, here on my right hand side, I've got the application that I wrote in my previous video, which is a very vanilla .NET Core 2.0 application with Angular using the SPA template. Okay, so you can see that I'm running here on the right hand side and the page is loaded here on the left hand side. So I can go and type Swagger and it's gonna bring me the Swagger UI. Okay, so that's how it is. I can go and load one of the endpoints and I can give it a try, and you can see that I've got the data here. Okay, so what I need to do now is I want to get that specification that was generated and create a new C# client. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy this URL. I'm just going to paste here just to make sure it's correct. Okay, so that's the whole specification and I'm going to copy that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to bring the NSwag Studio. If you haven't used NSwag Studio before, give it a try, it's pretty cool. So let's have a look here. Okay, so I'm going to paste that URL. And I'm going to generate the output. So it's going to read that specification that I have loaded here in the background, and it's going to show up here. Cool. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to create a C# client, and that's why I'm going to click here. Okay. So in this C# client, I can just generate the output with the default settings. Okay. So that's the whole client. And it's pretty nice to use and all that, but I want to make a few changes. Okay, so first I'm gonna go to settings, and what I want to do here, just so I can keep consistent with my API, I'm going to put the namespace client. So that's the client for the API called Swagger all the way. Okay, I also want to generate the contracts. Okay, and the namespace is going to be the same. All right. Okay, so I can have a look all the way down if I want something else. At this point, I don't need anything else. Okay, and all the way down, what I want to do is I want to put to provide an output for that client. Okay, but before I go there, let me just take a step back here, and what I want to do, I want to create a .NET application to be the client. So it's a library. So it's a ClassLib template. And to do that, I'm just gonna create a folder here. Swagger all the way, client. Okay, so let me go to that folder, and what I'm gonna do is .NET new ClassLib. Okay, so it's gonna create my library. I could open that with VS Code just to check it out. Okay, so that's a pretty vanilla class library. Okay, so what I want to do here, I want to go and generate these files, the C# client, in that folder, so I can package it up and send to another application to be utilized. Alright, so back to the NSWAG Studio, I'm gonna go to the output file. I'm gonna search for that folder. So let's see, user profile, my repo, damn, swag all the way, and client. Okay, so the first file that's gonna generate is going to be the main client, the main output. Okay, so I'm gonna call it Swagger all the way client generated. I'm just gonna call client generated so people don't go and mess with that file manually. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this name here and I'm going to save. Okay, so in the next one, what I want to do is the same file name, but instead of client, I'm gonna call it contracts. Okay, cool. Alright, so that's it. And what I want to do here now is I want to generate the files. Okay, so it took 1 second to generate the files, and I can see here on the left hand side that I now have a client generated, okay, and the contracts. Pretty cool. Nice. Alright, so now what I need to do, which is not mandatory really, but it's highly recommended, I need to save the settings. So in any chance I change the API in any way, I want to generate that client again. Okay, so I can automate that. So let's save these, and I'm gonna save in the same folder, and I'm gonna call it nswag.json, which is the default name for nswag, for nswag settings. Okay, so I saved that, and now I can actually close NSWAG Studio, and just so you can see how it works, let me just clear that. I'm gonna delete these two files here. Okay, and what I will do now is I will regenerate that. So I'm gonna go nswag and run. And to do that, I need to have that nswag installed. Okay, so what you could do is npm install and install that globally, the nswag command line. Okay, but in this case I'm not going to do it because I already have that installed. So I'm just going to run nswag run, and that's going to pick up that configuration, and it's going to generate the file. So these are the two files that were generated, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so now what I need to do is let's go and do a .NET restore just to see if it's working, and then let's build the application. Just check if everything is in place. It's potentially gonna complain about something, and this something is the Newtonsoft NuGet package. Because the way we generated this client, it requires Newtonsoft to be installed. Okay, so for us to go ahead, we need to .NET add package. to add this Newton soft.json. Okay. Alright, so now that I have that package installed, I can go ahead and do another restore just to make sure that everything's set. Okay, and I can test now .NET Build. It's great. So I could build, so everything is working as expected. And now what I need to do is, I have the client and it's ready to be used. Okay, but in order to use, I need to have a way to actually share that piece of code. And I'm not gonna copy that code somewhere else. I could, but that's not really ideal. What I want to do is I want to create a NuGet package out of this client, publish in a location that's available for my other applications, and bring that using the whole NPM, the whole NuGet way of packaging and sharing the packages. Okay. Alright, so now what we can do is .NET pack, okay, which is the command of your .NET CLI to package your application. And I'm going to use the release configuration and I'm going to output to the current folder. Okay, and one thing that I want to do also is to set the package version. Alright, and I'm gonna set that to 1.0.2 and I'm going to run. Alright, so you can see now that a new NuGet package was created here. Okay, so it's ready to be used, but in order to do that, I need to publish that to a NuGet server, so another application can just point to that NuGet server. Okay, I created before in Visual Studio Online or VSTS, I created this NuGet package server, and I've got this client already in here. Alright, so what we want to do here is push a new version of that client. Alright, so you can see that I've got version 1.0.1 and the latest package I created was 1.0.2. Okay, so what I want to do is do a NuGet push. Okay, and I'm gonna set the source. Alright, so I created that previously called blog. So that's a source I created locally. And for VSTS, I need to put this API key VSTS. Alright. And the next thing is the actual NuGet package itself. Okay, which is 1.0.2. Cool. So if everything goes as expected, this is gonna go to my VSTS NuGet package source. Okay, so the package was pushed, and let's go and just refresh this page to see if the new version is coming up. Alright, so now you can see that the version 1.0.2 is here. Alright, and now let's use that package. Okay, in order to use that, I'm gonna go one level up here and I'm gonna create another application, right? That could be any sort of application, right? So it could be a console application, a Windows service, it could be an API, an MVC and all of that, okay? But in this example here, I'm gonna create a console application. Okay, so I'm gonna create a folder called Swagger console. Okay, I'm gonna go to that folder and I'm going to create a new application here called console. Alright, so a new console was created. I can open with VS Code just to check it out. Cool, so it's working here. And just to test, let me do a .NET restore and a .NET run. So it should come with a hello world. message. Alright, so it failed, and it actually always fails with me because I always call something console when I want to create a console application, and .NET doesn't like that. And the reason why it doesn't like is simply because here in my program .cs, I've got a command called console.writeLine. Okay, but this console here is not actually the console in my namespace, but it's in the system namespace, so it gets confused. So let me call that system. Okay, and I'm gonna try again. .NET run. Okay, so all good. I've got my application running, so it's all nice. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to add a package that I just created. Okay, so let's try that. .NET add package Swagger all the way .client, and that's gonna bring from my VSTS NuGet package source, assuming that name is not known in the default NuGet package source. Okay, so you can see that it was installed and the version installed was 1.0.2, so it's actually the one that I just pushed. Okay, I'm gonna just run .NET restore again just to make sure everything is working fine, and .NET run to make sure that I've got my beautiful hello world coming. Okay, so now what I can do here is I can do var client to create my new client here, and I'm gonna bring from the client namespace, which is from Swagger all the way .client. Okay, and what I'm gonna get here is the sample data client. Actually, let me put a new here, and in here what I need is the base URL. If you can remember, my application is still running, and it's running on port 500. Okay, so if I open the browser here, it's still running on port 500. Okay, so that's the base URL that I want to use. Okay, I'm just gonna copy that, go back here and put my base URL. Okay, all right, so now what I can do is I can go to the client and I can get the weather forecast asynchronous. Okay, all right, so that's pretty much it. Since my main method here is not asynchronous, what I need to do is I need to get the awaiter and I need to get the result. Okay, and I'm going to get the result here. All right, I could make this asynchronous. There is a workaround to do that, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Okay, so what I want now is I want to go, I want to loop through the result just to print what's in there. So let's go and do a for each var forecast in result. Okay, all right, so you can see that here the contract is coming. Okay, so it's not a dynamic object, it's not an object as well, the type object. It's actually the forecast contract, so I can actually go and see which properties are available in that contract. Okay, so let's go now and do a system.console.writeLine, and what I want to do here is I want to print some of the information coming from there. So first I want to print the summary. So you can see that we have summary, temperature in Celsius, temperature in Fahrenheit, and the date formatted. Okay, but I'm gonna get the summary, and what I want to get next will be the temperature in Celsius, because that's what I'm used to. Okay, so you can see that that's all I need to do. I'm just gonna save that, and I'm gonna go back to my lovely Commander, and I'm gonna run that again. So if everything works as expected, I should use that client, the C# client, to talk to my localhost 5000 and bring that data back. Okay, so let's give it a try. Okay, so it worked. I've got my hello world coming, and I also have the temperatures coming as well. Assuming hot is not minus 20 degrees, everything is working as expected. Okay, so that's it. Hope you liked it. Cheers.